Well, hello, my friend. Welcome back to another episode of the From Chaos to Peace podcast, where I talk about how clutter is so much more than you think, and we put a spiritual twist on clearing that clutter to get organized. Thank you so much for allowing me back into your ears. Well, hello, my friend. I'm your host, Conny Graf. Welcome back to another short, easy listening summer 2025 episode. My goal is that these mini episodes are here to help you pause, reflect, and that you can take away one small mindset shift that brings you from chaos to more peace. Plus, I give you a recommendation for a past podcast episode for further listening. Okay, let's dive in because today I want to talk about the 4 sides of chaos and order. We often think in opposites. Order versus chaos, right versus wrong, good versus bad, right? But what if there's not just one opposite to everything? What if instead of thinking in black and white, we could understand that every concept has not just one, but 4 sides? This idea comes from the book Die Seiten der Medaille by Ruediger Dahlke. The title means The 4 Sides of a Coin. According to the law of polarity, everything has an opposite. But to move from one to the other, we always have to pass through the middle. And that middle is where clarity lives because it holds both sides. Now, the idea of the 4 sides of the coin goes even further. It says there's not just one opposite. Sometimes we're not just on one side of the other. We're completely crosswise with something. And that tension, that friction, it can reveal even more about us. The method helps you see not just your own point of view or someone else's, but also 2 additional perspectives, ones that are often hidden or unconscious. And when we start acknowledging all 4 sides, things become clearer. We get some distance. We can step out of the drama and start to see the bigger picture. And that's where the magic happens, right? In the center. The center is where awareness lives. It's where we can make conscious choices, take meaningful actions, and see how everything connects. From there, we can hold all 4 sides and begin to experience true wholeness and definitely more peace. So that's what the book taught me. So the direct opposites are what we reject, right? It makes our shadow themes clearly visible right away. Whatever we don't like in the opposite, in somebody else, has something to do with us. On the other hand, when we're at odds with something, what we're crosswise with, like not just opposite but cross, can reveal even more, not just what we reject, but also what we suppress, what we deny, or what we fear in ourselves. And it's easy to argue with an opponent because the point of attack are obvious. But if we're at cross purpose with a friend, for example, communication can break down entirely and no solution can be reached. So this all sounds a little bit abstract, right? So let's take chaos and order as an example to explore the 4 sides. We often see chaos as something negative, something messy and out of control, something to eliminate and eradicate. After all, my podcast is called From Chaos to Peace, right? But chaos can also be creative, fertile, alive, and full of possibilities. In magical practice, the term chaos refers to the unpredictability and the rejection of rigid order or traditional hierarchies. Now, to be clear, it's not about disorder for its own sake, but rather about embracing freedom and adaptability. I can't say that word, adaptability. Tapping into a wider intelligence in ourselves, right? Science, for example, tells us that life began in the chaotic and swirling waters of the early oceans. There was no order, just a wild primal mess. And yet, from that chaos, something as miraculous as life itself emerged. our cosmos and all life, all of us in it. Isn't that fascinating? So chaos is not just negative, right? It is also positive. It's creative. It includes a lot of possibility. Now let's look at order, which many of us strive for, especially those of us who like things neat and just so, and I'm guilty of that. But this order also has a shadow side. It can feel restrictive, even suffocating. Think of the rigid rules or expectations that don't leave space for spontaneity, play, or imperfection. That is not peace. That is pressure. And one of the reasons why I always say I don't like rules, I'm a rebel, this is exactly why. While I strive for more peace, I don't strive for rigid order. You can hear more about that in episode 253, Clearing Clutter Made Simple, 3 key principles. So the 4 sides of the coin between chaos and order are creative chaos versus destructive chaos, supportive order versus restrictive order, right? And we can see these 4 sides not just as concepts, but in everyday choices, like how we sometimes limit ourselves. Maybe we avoid traveling to places that feel too chaotic or unfamiliar. Or we stress out over a messy house because deep down we're scared that a little disorder might mean we're not on top of things and that we lose control, or that we might look bad in somebody else's eyes. Or we follow a strict routine or schedule not because it truly supports us, but because we're afraid of what might happen if we let go and let loose even just a little bit. Or we cling to certain habits and systems even when they're exhausting, just because they give us a sense of control. This podcast is called From Chaos to Peace, and I repeat over and over that clutter is so much more than you think. And what if clutter is also too much order, restrictive order? What if our soul is actually craving a bit of wildness, a bit of more creativity and play, letting loose a little bit more, not beating ourselves up for not being perfect? As human beings, we grow the most when we can see and accept all 4 sides of a coin, when we can be honest about the uncomfortable parts of both chaos and order. Also, we might come to the insight, the epiphany, and realize that some of the stress we feel isn't caused by the chaos itself. It's caused by our need for things to be too ordered, too perfect, too much under control. So what would happen if we let go just a little bit? Could we allow ourselves to be more playful, more creative, and a little looser? Could we see our own chaos not as a flaw, but also not as the only way to live? Could it be that our striving for tidiness is sometimes less about peace and more about anxiety? When we feel like everything has to be in its place all the time, our own life becomes exhausting, constantly picking up after ourselves and others because we can't stand a little mess. That doesn't feel peaceful either, does it? Here is the twist. Maybe a little mess isn't the problem. Maybe it's actually part of the solution, because creative thinking and creative solutions are always a bit messy, as Albert Einstein already pointed out, because they don't follow the usual order. Instead, they explore unknown paths. Einstein also taught us that problems can't be solved on the same level they were created. That's why it's worth shifting perspectives to explore emotional, mental, or even social levels, especially when the answers aren't found on the material level. So, I invite you to reflect. What is your relationship with chaos and order? And can you find all 4 sides of the coin for your situation? Where is your chaos creative and where is it destructive? Be really honest with yourself. And then ask yourself, where do you try to create restrictive order instead of supportive order? Again, be really honest with yourself. These aren't always easy questions, but they are very powerful. And you don't have to figure it all out on your own. If you'd like help with identifying the 4 sides of the chaos and order in your life and business, I'd love to support you. Book a free 30-minute call and bring your chaos to me. I'll help you identify one clear, doable action step to move from chaos to peace, starting right now. Whether that's clearing your path to peace of mind, peace of space, or peace and profits. And we can chat about whether working together feels like a fit. Okay, my friend, that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening all the way to the end. Talk to you next time. And let's keep creating more peace in our lives, one day at a time. Bye for now.